The night was unusually quiet when the first raid happened. Residents of Runda Estate woke to the terrifying sounds of masked men breaking into their homes, shouting and demanding money. But what made it worse was that the robbers seemed to know everything: where the expensive phones were kept, which rooms held the cash, and even the times when families were away. No one suspected that the evil eye watching from the shadows was someone they trusted: their local government councillor, Alhaji Bello. Alhaji Bello was not just any politician. To the public, he was a humble man who fought for the estate's development. But behind closed doors, he ruled with a web of secrets and lies. His spies were the men who drove the waste disposal trucks, moving quietly through every street, collecting garbage and, more importantly, gathering information. Every day, these drivers reported the residents' movements and habits to Bello's men. They knew who was home, who was not, and what valuables were left unattended. Using this information, Bello's gang planned robbery attacks that seemed random. The money and goods stolen didn't just disappear. They flowed into a secret pool, shared quietly among the local government workers, with the largest share going to Alhaji Bello himself. The councillor used this stolen wealth to build a business empire, buying shops, land, and even influencing local elections to stay in power forever. But power has a way of inviting danger. One careless mistake, one person who wanted out, and everything was about to change. No one dared speak out against Alhaji Bello. He had built his power carefully, with money, fear, and favors. The waste truck drivers were his eyes and ears. Each day, as they moved from house to house, they noticed everything: new visitors, families going on trips, even secret meetings between residents. One of the drivers, Abubakar, was new to the job. He had moved to the estate from a nearby town, hoping to find steady work to support his young family. At first, he thought he was just collecting trash like everyone else. But the strange questions from his supervisor made him uneasy. Who's home? Who's gone? Anything valuable in that house? Abubakar kept quiet, afraid of losing his job. The robbers never struck randomly. They hit homes where the waste drivers said the owners were away or had left valuables visible. Each robbery was carefully timed, almost surgical. Over time, Abubakar noticed how the local government workers flaunted their wealth. New cars, bigger houses, expensive clothes, all paid for with money no one could explain. The man behind it all, Alhaji Bello, never missed an election. The estate believed in him. They had no idea he was using their own people to steal from them. But something inside Abubakar began to stir. The guilt, the fear, and the question: how long could he keep watching his neighbors suffer and do nothing? Abubakar couldn't sleep that night. The images of the terrified families flashed in his mind. Mothers clutching their children, men helpless as masked robbers took everything. He remembered the elderly man next door, trembling as he begged for mercy while his wife wept silently. For weeks, Abubakar had been part of the machine, feeding information that destroyed lives. But the thought of staying silent made his chest tighten. He thought of his own little daughter, Fatima, and how he wanted her to grow up in a safe place, not one ruled by thieves in suits. Still, fear held him back. Bello was powerful, with connections in the police, the courts, and even the news. Anyone who spoke against him disappeared or was ruined by false accusations. Abubakar had heard stories, whispered in the night at the waste depot. A man who tried to expose Bello's network had been found drowned in the river. One evening, after work, Abubakar met a woman he hadn't seen before. She introduced herself as Amina, a community organizer determined to clean up the estate. She had been quietly gathering proof against Bello and his gang. Her eyes were full of fire, her words sharp and honest. Abubakar, you know what's happening here. I need people like you, who see the truth but are too scared to speak. Help me. Together, we can stop this, she said. For the first time, Abubakar felt a flicker of hope. But danger was close, closer than he realized. The next morning, Abubakar woke up with a headache. Not from illness, but from fear. Amina's words echoed in his mind, loud and unshakable. Help me. Together, we can stop this. But stop what? Exactly? A machine too big to fight alone? A system soaked in silence and blood? At work, he noticed something strange. His supervisor, Malam Danlami, kept watching him too closely. Whenever Abubakar paused or looked distracted, Danlami barked orders or sent someone to assist him. It was clear. They were watching him now. By noon, word had spread in whispers that Alhaji Bello suspected a leak. He believed someone in the waste crew had been talking too much. One of the drivers, Nduka, hadn't shown up that morning. His phone rang endlessly, then stopped working. No one dared ask questions, but everyone feared the same thing. Nduka had been silenced. That night, Abubakar met Amina in secret, behind a church near the edge of the estate. She handed him a small camera pen. Record everything. Names, conversations, locations. We need proof. Abubakar's hands trembled as he took it. If caught, he wouldn't survive. But something inside him had already changed. Fear was no longer enough to keep him silent. What he didn't know was that someone had followed him. The next morning was heavy with silence. Abubakar's wife, Zainab, noticed he barely touched his breakfast. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay?" she asked. Abubakar forced a smile. "Just tired. Long day ahead." He couldn't tell her the truth. The less she knew, the safer she was. At work, everything felt different. Malam Danlami didn't speak much but kept a cold eye on everyone. It was as if the air was watching. Abubakar clipped the pen to his pocket and started recording. He noticed things more clearly now. Danlami speaking in hushed tones on his phone. 2 estate security guards receiving brown envelopes. A conversation between Danlami and one of Bello's boys. The counselor said next week's job must be clean. That couple just returned from Dubai. We go when they leave for church. Abubakar's heart pounded. He got it all on the pen camera. But just as he was about to leave for the day, a black SUV pulled up beside the waste truck. A tall man in native attire stepped out, Bello's personal enforcer, Kabiru. He stared directly at Abubakar. "Alhaji wants to see you. Now." Abubakar's legs turned to stone. Had they found out? Abubakar sat quietly in the back of the SUV as it moved through the estate. Kabiru didn't speak, and the 2 other men in the car wore the same blank, dangerous expression. Abubakar could feel sweat gathering at the back of his neck. The vehicle stopped at a gated compound surrounded by tall palm trees and armed guards. It was one of Alhaji Bello's private homes, not the official residence known to the public, but one of the many secret properties he had acquired. Inside, Bello sat like a king on a leather chair, sipping fruit juice. He smiled when he saw Abubakar. "My boy," he said warmly. "How is your family?" Abubakar forced a smile and muttered, "They are fine, sir." Bello stood up and walked slowly toward him. "You're hardworking, loyal, but lately, I hear your eyes are open too wide. Some people think they can change things. Clean up corruption. Eh?" His smile vanished. "You know what happened to the last man who tried." Abubakar swallowed hard. He shook his head. Bello placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're smarter than that. Stay focused. Do your job. I take care of my own." Abubakar nodded slowly, heart thumping. As he left the compound, he knew one thing. The clock had started ticking. They were suspicious. One wrong move, and he'd vanish like Nduka. But he had something now. Proof. And he wasn't alone. That night, Abubakar didn't sleep. He lay beside his wife, eyes wide open, listening to every sound outside. The smallest noise made his heart race. Every shadow looked like a threat. He had never felt so exposed. By dawn, he slipped out quietly and met Amina in an abandoned storage building behind the estate's old market. He handed her the pen camera. She watched the videos in silence. The names, the planning, the payments. Everything was there. When she finally looked up, her eyes were shining. "This is enough to shake him," she said. "But we need to be smart. We can't go to the police. They're already eating from his table." "So what do we do?" Abubakar asked. "We release it to the people. slowly, through anonymous social media pages. Let the estate residents see the truth with their own eyes. Abubakar nodded, still unsure. But once it starts, she continued, they will come for us. Are you ready for that? Abubakar took a deep breath. If I die, let it be for something. They didn't notice the man across the street, watching from behind a cracked window. It was Mallam Danlami, and he had heard enough. By the next evening, the first video clip appeared online. A page called Runda Truth posted a grainy video of Mallam Danlami speaking to a man in dark sunglasses. The caption read, "Waste workers or criminal scouts. Secret plan to rob a returning family." The video spread like wildfire. Within hours, estate WhatsApp groups were buzzing. People who once worshipped Bello began whispering behind closed doors. Fear gave way to suspicion. Bello's face, always smiling on posters and billboards, suddenly felt sinister. Abubakar watched from a distance as the estate boiled with tension. He was both proud and terrified. Amina posted the next clip 2 days later, this one clearer, showing 2 estate security men taking bribes. Residents began questioning how the robbers always knew when to strike. But Bello wasn't a fool. He responded quickly. By the 3rd day, estate security raided 3 homes, all belonging to innocent, poor residents. They planted evidence and announced on the estate radio that a robbery ring had been caught. He needed to distract the people, create an enemy. It almost worked, until someone recognized one of the arrested men and swore he'd been at work when the robbery happened. Bello was slipping, but danger was closing in on Abubakar and Amina fast. Especially now that Bello had ordered a secret hunt for the person behind Runda Truth. And Danlami had a name in mind. Abubakar was wiping down the waste truck when a message buzzed on his phone. Unknown number, your daughter Fatima is beautiful. Hope she makes it to her next birthday. His blood ran cold. He dropped the rag and scanned the area. No one suspicious. No strange cars. But the message was clear. They knew. He rushed home, heart pounding, and found Zainab preparing lunch. He scooped Fatima into his arms and held her tightly. Zainab noticed his shaking hands. "What's wrong?" she asked. Abubakar didn't answer. He just muttered, "Pack a bag. You and Fatima need to leave town tonight. I'll explain later." Later that evening, Amina met him near an abandoned fuel station. Her face was tight with worry. "They're moving fast now," she said. "2 of our estate informants have vanished. And someone tried to follow me yesterday." She handed Abubakar a small envelope. Inside is a memory card, backup of all the videos, names, everything. "If anything happens to me, take it to Yomi Iroko." "The journalist?" Abubakar asked. "Yes, the only one who's been trying to expose Bello for years." Abubakar looked around nervously. "We're running out of time." As they parted ways, neither of them noticed the silent motorbike parked behind the old fuel sign. The rider had one job: follow and kill when ordered. The night was thick with heat and fear. Abubakar stood at the motor park, watching as Zainab and little Fatima boarded a bus heading to Kogi. He hugged them both tightly, whispering in Zainab's ear, "No matter what you hear, don't come back until I say it's safe." Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded. She knew her husband too well. Something deadly was happening. As the bus drove off, Abubakar felt something snap in him. The fear that had kept him quiet all these years began to fade. Now it was anger. Bello had crossed the line. Threatening his child? That was war. At dawn, another video dropped. This time, the footage showed Bello himself, sitting in his SUV, laughing with Kabiru. "Let them rob the house. Just make sure they leave the wife's gold. I like her taste," Bello said, smirking. The audio was clear. The comments exploded. Some refused to believe it. Others started demanding answers. That same afternoon, a convoy of black jeeps stormed the estate. Masked men with guns moved from house to house, looking for troublemakers. Abubakar was tipped off just in time and escaped into hiding. Amina wasn't so lucky. She didn't return home that night. Abubakar didn't sleep that night. He hid in a rundown mechanic workshop at the edge of the estate, his phone buzzing non-stop with messages from anonymous numbers. One stood out. "The girl is gone. You're next. Delete everything or we will burn your entire bloodline." He stared at the message for a long time. He wanted to believe Amina had escaped, that she was in hiding like him. But deep down, he knew they'd caught her. Maybe even killed her. He gripped the pen camera tight in his fist, heart heavy. She had been the fire, the bold one, the voice. And now she was gone. That morning, news spread through the estate like Harmattan wind. A body had been found behind the central market. Female, unrecognizable face, burn marks, no ID. Abubakar sat on the cold floor of the workshop and wept quietly. He had every reason to run. Take the memory card, join his wife in Kogi, and vanish. But as he looked at Amina's last note, "If they silence one of us, let 10 more speak," something hardened in him. He picked up his phone and dialed Yomi Iroko. "I have everything you need," Abubakar said. "But I'm not hiding anymore." For the first time, the hunter had become the threat. The meeting with Yomi Iroko took place in a dusty hotel room on the outskirts of town. Yomi, a thin man with tired eyes and a recorder in his hand, had been chasing corruption stories for over a decade. But when Abubakar handed him the memory card, his hands trembled. "What's in here can burn down a political empire," Yomi whispered after watching just the first 2 clips. "Where did you get all this?" Abubakar stared at him. From inside the beast's belly. Yomi wasted no time. That evening, he released a detailed expose on his verified blog, Najar Leaks. It wasn't just videos. It included names, timestamps, estate layouts, lists of planned robberies, stolen properties, and even photographs of Bello's secret houses and luxury assets. The story exploded. Channels TV picked it up. So did BBC Pidgin. Within hours, Bello's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. The residents of Runda Estate marched to the local government office, chanting, "We know your face. We know your crimes." Police presence increased, not to protect the people, but to guard Bello. But something had shifted. Fear was no longer one-sided. In the shadows of a mansion, Bello watched the news with bloodshot eyes. "Who is behind this?" he barked. Danlami bent forward and whispered, "Abubakar, the waste truck driver." Bello smiled coldly. "Then let's take out the trash." Abubakar had barely returned to his new hideout, a cramped boys' quarters behind an abandoned school, when he heard the door creak. It was Tafa. Tafa had been his closest friend among the waste truck drivers. A small man with a large mouth and a habit of chewing cola nuts, he had always joked about leaving the job for real money. But tonight, he wasn't laughing. "Tafa, what are you doing here?" Abubakar asked, unsure. "I came to warn you," Tafa said, looking around nervously. "They know it's you. Bello has put 5 million naira on your head. Half the boys are tempted. The other half are afraid." Abubakar's heart sank. "What about you?" Tafa paused. "I told them I didn't know where you were. But Abubakar, don't trust anybody again. Not even me." Abubakar stared at him, confused. Then he noticed it, the glint of a phone camera in Tafa's pocket, facing up. He was recording. Before he could act, Tafa bolted out of the room. Abubakar chased him down the alley, heart pounding, lungs burning. But Tafa vanished into the night like smoke. He stood there, breathing hard, realizing something important. They weren't just hunting him. They were closing in. Fast. And now, Bello had a face, a voice, and a location. The attack came at midnight. 4 men in black, faces covered, climbed the fence of the abandoned school where Abubakar had been hiding. They moved silently, their steps rehearsed, ex-military, or worse, estate security gone rogue. Abubakar was awake. He hadn't slept since the leak. From the cracked window, he spotted the first figure creeping through the compound. His heart thudded in his ears, but his mind was clear. He'd prepared for this. He moved to the back room and triggered the old gas cylinder he had rigged 2 days ago. A crude trap, but effective. When the first man forced the door open, a small explosion erupted, sending him flying backwards. Shouts followed. Confusion. One of them fired blindly into the dark. Abubakar slipped out through the underground drainage channel beside the compound, covered in filth but alive. By morning, news of the failed assassination spread, and with it came more public outrage. The media now had more questions than answers. Who sent the killers? Why is the whistleblower being hunted? Is this how Bello silences critics? Meanwhile, Bello was livid. This fool thinks he's untouchable, he spat, hurling a glass across his office. We'll find him, burn his bones, and erase his name. But in the shadows of Lagos, a resistance was quietly forming. Abubakar was no longer alone. The day after the failed assassination, #Justice for Amina began trending. Someone, likely a sympathizer within Yomi Iroko's network, leaked Amina's story to the press. Her face, her voice, her fire. A short documentary followed, The Voice They Tried to Kill. It featured hidden footage of her meetings, her warnings, and her final days before she disappeared. People were no longer afraid to speak. A junior staff at the local government office anonymously posted receipts showing unusual fund withdrawals made by Bello. A member of the estate security confessed in a live Twitter space that he was paid to ignore robbery alerts. Runda was boiling. And in the middle of it, Abubakar resurfaced, not in person, but through a powerful video. Dressed in a plain hoodie, his face hidden, his voice clear, he spoke into the camera. They made me believe I was just a truck driver, that I had no power. But now, I know better. This isn't just about Bello. It's about every politician who thinks our silence is their permission. The video spread across Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. People began gathering, not just in Runda, but across nearby LGAs. The streets were echoing with chants. Power nor be privilege. Truth nor be crime. For the first time, Bello looked at his mirror and didn't see a king. He saw a falling god. The meeting room in Bello's mansion was filled with nervous faces. His closest allies, ward chairmen, estate enforcers, loyal security officers, had gathered to discuss damage control. But Bello wasn't calm. His eyes twitched, fingers tapping his whiskey glass. "We're losing the media war," one of his men said. "Even the commissioner is asking questions now." "Then buy him," Bello snapped. "We've bought bigger people before." But then Danlami, Bello's most trusted fixer, stood up slowly and said something that turned the room cold. "I think we should consider stepping back. Just for a while." Bello stared at him. "You want me to resign?" Danlami didn't flinch. "Just lay low. Travel out. Let this blow over. You've made enough to wait this storm out." Everyone turned silent. Bello rose from his chair, walked around the table, and stared Danlami in the face. "You think I got here by hiding? You think fear built this empire?" Danlami didn't answer. That night, someone hacked Bello's email. Dozens of confidential files, contracts, land grabs, fraudulent companies, leaked onto the dark web and then mainstream blogs. The public exploded. People began protesting outside the local government secretariat. The next morning, Bello's convoy was attacked with stones and sachet water as he tried to attend a peace rally. And far away, in a secret compound, Abubakar watched it all. Then his phone rang. "Abubakar," Yomi Iroko said urgently, "I think someone inside Bello's circle is helping us." The rain was steady that night, washing the streets of Runda like a silent cleansing ritual. Abubakar sat by the window in Yomi Iroko's rented safe house, watching the droplets race down the glass. His phone buzzed. A file had just been sent to Yomi's inbox. Anonymous sender. Encrypted folder. Inside were voice notes, account statements, and most damning, a video. Bello, drunk, sitting in his backyard with a woman. Not just any woman. It was Zainab. Abubakar's heart stopped. In the video, Bello whispered, "If your husband wants to act like a hero, let him feel the weight of betrayal. I told you, loyalty has a price." Abubakar didn't move for minutes. He just stared at the screen. Yomi walked in and saw the look on his face. "What's wrong?" Abubakar simply handed him the phone. Zainab, the woman he loved, the mother of his child, the one he thought he was protecting. Was she the insider? Or was she a pawn in something deeper? Yomi studied the video carefully. This was sent to help us, not hurt you. Maybe she's undercover. Or maybe she's turning against Bello. Abubakar shook his head slowly. No, she's too smart to get caught on camera. He stood up, something boiling beneath his calm face. If Zainab is in this, then everything changes. Abubakar couldn't sleep, not because of fear, but fury. Zainab had once told him, there are two kinds of people in this world, those who survive and those who sacrifice. He never thought she meant herself. By morning, he was back in motion. Yomi arranged a meeting with a known whistleblower within the Ministry of Urban Affairs. A woman named Adesua. Sharp, invisible, dangerous in silence. She confirmed it all. Zainab's name is on one of the dummy companies Bello uses to buy properties. Her signature, her BVN. She's not a side player, Abubakar. She's his cleaner. Abubakar clenched his fists. Did she know about Amina's death? He asked. Adesua hesitated. Not sure, but she was the one who suggested Amina take the promotion at the main secretariat before she vanished. Abubakar sat back, stunned. His Zainab, the woman who cried when they had nothing, the woman who told him to keep pushing, that one day, God would reward them. She had been eating from Bello's table. At dusk, Abubakar returned to his old neighborhood in disguise. He stood across the street from his former home. Zainab stepped out, dressed in silk, a different woman. Confident, cold. He didn't approach her. He simply whispered, "Now I understand." From that moment, Abubakar wasn't just fighting for justice. He was fighting for his soul. Bello didn't sleep that night. He sat in his palatial lounge, eyes red, puffing endlessly on a thick cigar. For the first time in years, he felt something unfamiliar crawling under his skin. Fear. The protests had spread. From Runda to the neighboring districts. People were demanding answers. The EFCC had launched a discreet probe. His allies were switching phones, hiding families, liquidating accounts. Then came the final blow, a leaked phone call between Bello and a state electoral officer. Just swap the results. I'll triple your cut, Bello's voice said. They love winners. I just need the numbers. It aired on national radio. The party chairman called him in panic. Bello, we can't save you this time. You've become a liability. That same night, Abubakar stepped onto the live stage of a televised town hall event organized by Yomi Iroko's foundation. Masked, but voice clear, he narrated everything. The trucks, the robberies, Amina's murder, Zainab's betrayal, the manipulation, the empire Bello built on blood and silence. And he ended with this. This fight was never about me. It's about the driver, the cleaner, the widow, the student. Everyone they use. Everyone they bury with lies. Enough is enough. The crowd roared. A call came to Bello's phone. Sir, they've issued a warrant. They are coming. Bello dropped the phone. For the first time, he was the one who had to run. Bello tried to escape through the back gate of his Ikoyi mansion. His convoy was gone. His guards had vanished. Only Danlami remained, holding a small travel bag with stacks of dollars and 2 fake passports. The jet is waiting in Cotonou, Danlami said. We drive overnight. But Bello hesitated. His empire had crumbled. His accounts were frozen. His name was poison. And worst of all, he had no one left to trust. No Zainab, no party, no power. As he stepped into the car, sirens lit up the gate like lightning. The EFCC, the DSS, and armed mobile police officers swarmed in. Danlami raised both hands. Bello tried to run, but slipped and fell, face first into the wet gravel. His arrest was broadcast live. Across Nigeria, cheers erupted. Some wept, some laughed, some simply said, "Finally." But Abubakar wasn't celebrating. He sat at Amina's grave, alone. He placed a folded newspaper beside the tombstone. Corrupt LG chairman arrested after massive whistleblower movement. Then he whispered, "We did it, Amina. But it still hurts." Behind him, footsteps approached. It was Zainab. Her face was bare. No makeup, no silk. "I didn't betray you for money," she said, voice shaking. "I was trying to protect our daughter." Abubakar didn't look at her. "You protected her from poverty, not from shame." She wept, but he walked away. Some victories come with heavy silence. But across Runda, people smiled again. The trucks were back, this time, to clean waste, not collect secrets. And for once, the streets felt honest.